So it's around summer of 2022, and I'm at the theaters watching a movie, but there was an ad for a new horror movie with the producers from The Grudge and The Ring, and the trailer was incredible. I was constantly thinking about the movie, and couldn't wait for it to finally come out into theaters. I mean, come on, The Grudge and The Ring are two childhood horror staples. Even though I was older when I first sat down and watched them, I was still frightened by each film substantially and understood the high praise given to each title. So as you can understand, I had some pretty high expectations for this film. However, when the credits started rolling, I slowly looked at my smiling brother who loved the film, and as unfortunate as it is, all I could ask was, that's it? Looking back, I was actually more upset that I didn't get the feeling I wanted from the movie, and I believe that translates to expectations. I expected to feel the same way I did after watching, The Grudge or The Ring. I was comparing them, which isn't fair, obviously. However, even after sleeping on the movie, I still had the same underwhelming feelings I had, and that is the day I filmed my original review of the movie. There was just something missing, it felt like something I couldn't grasp onto to really start enjoying it. If I had to pin down something, it would really just be, it feels like there's a foundation to this movie that is not there. My earlier criticisms were a lack of foundation when it comes to the story, and I think it is because of the big shift the movie goes through after the first hour. Little side rant here. I don't know if anyone else just doesn't like this style of structuring your story, but I don't necessarily enjoy when movies are building and building a scene, and for a big shocking reveal to happen, only for us to then go back and see how that reveal happened in the first place, like Memento, which is also a movie I did not really enjoy. Yes, I know, put them down. My personal opinion as of writing this is that yes, I can understand how the structure can be super enticing as it feels like you are witnessing a mystery unfold and you get the big oh moment when the pieces start to click. But sometimes for me, I feel like I prefer a more ambiguous route where we are learning alongside the characters, and when we go oh, the characters do too. A lot of moments in film that will get you to go oh is basically a result of foreshadowing. And picking up on foreshadowing that isn't hammered into your face before it's revealed is quite a rewarding feeling, I must say. Movies like Memento and Barbarian structure their stories in a way that makes it to where the constant question on my mind is, where is this going, and what is happening? And the end never feels rewarding enough to warrant all the time I was clueless. All these critiques are based on my first viewing of Barbarian. The structure was not something I particularly jive with, and as a whole, everything felt underwhelming. If you want to see my first review of Barbarian where I'm critical of the movie, I will have the link in the description below. However, I'd gotten a comment from someone asking me to do a spoiler review of the movie to go further in depth about why I didn't necessarily like the movie. Except we ran into a little bit of a problem. I had watched the movie a second time, and I loved it. I watched it with a group of my friends because at the moment when I was thinking of the movie, I was thinking about all the batshit parts of it, and I was very intrigued and excited to see how they would react to it. And by the end of it, I had such a blast with the movie. I had seen it through different lenses and different expectations and was able to really take the movie for what it is. Instead of being upset that I didn't feel the way I wanted to by the movie, I opened myself up to the feelings the movie was meant to give me. The movie is supposed to be disorienting, and it's supposed to feel like, as described by the director, a roller coaster. A point I tried to make in my original review was that I don't like not liking movies, so sometimes that leads to me trying to enjoy a movie even if I originally didn't like it. But I also feel like it's a very human trait to have a shift in opinions on art after recognizing the grander message and theme it's trying to convey. Now that all of that is out of the way, we can finally get into the meat of Zach Cregger's Barbarian. Spoilers ahead. The first act of this movie, I gotta say, is phenomenal. The buildup of tension and atmosphere were done almost expertly. My level of intrigue was definitely through the ceiling during the first act on many occasions. We meet Tess, who is visiting, you guessed it, Detroit, and she has finally arrived at her Airbnb. Unbeknownst to her, someone else has rented out the same place, and this is where we meet Keith.
I booked it on Airbnb like a month ago.
I booked it on HomeAway.
You're fucking kidding.
There is constant tension between these two characters, and rightfully so. They are both strangers in the middle of the night, and now they are about to be sleeping under the same roof. It is very normal for these two to feel uncomfortable right now. However, when it comes to Keith, it is as if he is trying his absolute damnedest to prove that he is not an absolute lunatic, but in the process comes off as an unhinged maniac.
I thought I'm gonna have some of this here wine, but I didn't want to open it before you got out of the shower because I noticed you didn't drink your tea.
A little bit exaggerating. Keith comes off as more creepy and awkward than anything, but we are in a horror film, so creepy and awkward people don't tend to fly well within the radar. What I enjoyed about the first act is that while you are sometimes screaming at the characters about their foolish decisions, you're also surprised at how many correct decisions are made here at the beginning. All the identity checking in this scene is just a detail I really enjoyed. Another sort of interesting moment is that the next day, after she goes outside, she sees what the neighborhood actually looks like, and it's as if the house she's in is the only livable house within a 2-mile radius. It shrinks her world down a little bit, and then when the lady interviewing her shows major concern over the area she is staying in, it's just such good tension.
Yeah, it seems a little rough, but...
No, you shouldn't be there.
What do you mean?
The first act, I will say, is really solid filmmaking, and it does its job in investing you into the plot. I was at the edge of my seat when the homeless guy was chasing Tess back into the house. The next scene is one where a lot of people criticize the decisions made by Tess here. A lot of people ask why she would go down into the basement, and why she would pull the rope, and why she would just continually go down into this tunnel. My answer to that, honestly, is I think I have started viewing dumb decision-making by characters to be part of the art form. It gets a good reaction, albeit sometimes a very frustrating one. However, I get the sense that if done right, you can still create an incredibly immersive scene, and in order to achieve that, your characters are going to walk slow, and they're going to have their curiosity meters turned up by 100%. After Tess discovers some freaky shenanigans took place in this basement, she freaks out and desperately tries to get out. Luckily, Keith shows up just in time to let her out. After a bit of scrambling, Keith goes down into the tunnel, and Tess soon follows. Tess discovers that there's another wall behind the wall that goes even further down. Once she makes it down there, she runs into Keith, who ultimately and very quickly gets his head bashed in by this big monster thing. What's that? Who's that? What's going on? Keith just died. What's gonna happen to Tess? And we're now following Justin Long.
Yellow!
Hey, AJ, I have David Stern and Melissa Herberts for you.
Love it!
We have reached our turning point in Barbarian, and this is when on first viewing, I started to go, oh no. I was thrown off, what can I say? And I was worried the movie was going to completely lose the fantastic tone it's been carrying throughout the first act. However, we carry along, following Justin Long, as he is slowly finding out his last interaction with the lady did not go so swimmingly, as he had been accused of sexual assault by an actress he was working with. He gets let go of his job, and everything seems to be going wrong. Come to find out, Justin Long is the owner of the Airbnb where this crazy monster inhabits the basement tunnels. I will say, I went up to go to the bathroom during the scene where he goes back to the Airbnb, so it took a little bit of filling in to understand what he was doing there in the first place. Justin Long is written to be the most unlikable character put to screen.
What up, faggot?
He is undeniably selfish. He tosses a MacBook like, come on, you dick. And once he finds out that there is a mass underground tunnel system under his home, he takes a tape measure into the tunnels to measure out the extra square footage of the floor plan in order to increase the renting price for the unit.
Can be noted separately in the listing's total area. Oh, hell yeah.
This guy is your step-by-step, straight down the list asshole. So you were angry at him the whole time, yet at the same time, I kept thinking the movie was going to redeem him. Justin Long finds himself in a hole within the tunnel system, where we see that Tess is alive, thank God. I was honestly really glad to find out she wasn't killed off screen with Keith. However, here is when we get our second cutaway. We meet this guy, who I think's name is Frank, but who cares? He really quickly gives off weird vibes, especially when almost everything he's buying in the grocery store can be used for murder. But then he goes on and gets some baby supplies too. He later goes on and follows the lady home, and it is insinuated that he later breaks in and kidnaps her, as when he first goes down into the basement, we can hear another lady screaming from below. From there on, we return to Tess and Justin Long. Here is where we get our first true interaction with the monster in the tunnels. She drops down a baby bottle, and Justin Long is refusing to drink it. Tess tells Justin Long that she just wants him to be her baby.
Don't you see? She just wants you to be her baby.
When I first watched this, I had an issue with it because it felt kind of like that was something we should have learned by figuring it out or learning it with you, not just a line of dialogue dropped in. I don't know, it kind of just made me go, oh, well, that was a fast answer. If I'm not mistaken, the creature grabs Justin Long and takes him out of the hole and drags him into a room. Tess uses this as an opportunity to escape, yet unfortunately for her, she trips over Justin Long's measuring tape and the creature is on the hunt. Tess makes it all the way up to the window where she's grabbed and saved by the homeless guy who chased her into the house a couple scenes earlier. He was actually trying to save her. She tries to tell the homeless guy she wants to go back for Justin Long, but the homeless guy, who is smart, rightfully leaves her to her own quest as he is not going to be a part of it. She runs into some cops, and let me tell you, this also frustrated me so greatly. These cops were almost too exaggerated in how ignorant and dickish the two of them were. Granted, Tess isn't the most composed during this scene, but you would think the cops would at least do the bare minimum here instead of writing her off as a crazy lady. Even on second viewing, I got frustrated during this scene. Like, if this was real life and I was Tess, I would implode and die. During all this, Justin Long has managed to escape the hands of the creature and finds his way into a room with an old man laying down in the corner. We are immediately shown that this room means something because the big creature wants nothing to do with what is in there. Justin Long finds a whole collection of home videotapes and goes to play them. To his shock, these are all snuff films that this old guy, now known to be Frank, who we flash back to, would kidnap these women and, to our assumption, do some you-know-whating. At this moment, it all became clear to me that the creature was probably a product of inbreeding or that this guy was doing other crazy shit down there, which I actually thought was a cool twist. After watching the tapes, Justin Long is rightfully horrified, but as an audience member, you understand what's probably going through his mind. Justin Long attempts to give the guy a good semi-hypocritical lecture about his treatment of women, but is interrupted by Frank having a playdate with his skull and a bullet.
No, wait!
Now we have Justin Long wandering the tunnel with Frank's gun. All the while, Tess has returned to the house and broken in to retrieve her keys. I am guessing the revving of the car brought the inbred lady out of the house. I'm not too sure, but it was all a part of the plan, as Tess rams her car into the lady, seemingly killing her. Tess takes this chance to stupidly run back into the tunnels to try and save Justin Long. Remember when I said Justin Long was wandering the tunnels with Frank's gun? I wonder what he's going to do with that. Oh, for fuck's sake, he shoots Tess. I was so mad. I was like, this movie absolutely 100% knows what they are doing with this guy. It was a mix because a character making me actually angry isn't fun because, you know, I'm angry. I can't help to be like, damn, they really wrote one of the most bumbling, idiotic characters I've ever seen in a horror movie. Luckily, the bullet doesn't instantly kill her, and they are both able to make it out of the house, but they do see that the inbred lady has disappeared. Tess and Justin Long make their way back to the homeless guy as he explains the story of the inbred lady. Basically, Frank would make babies with the woman he kidnapped, and then he would make babies with the babies, and so on and so forth. Luckily for our characters, the homeless guy reassures them that the inbred lady can't get to them where he lives, which I guess I'll just let the scene play out for itself.
I've been living in this place more than 15 years, and she ain't never came in this motherfucker.
The lady rips the homeless guy's arm off and beats him to death with it. Incredible. Throughout the movie, I was loving the effects. The look of the creature was truly haunting, and I'm not sure if it was CGI'd or a real prosthetic or something, but it looks real and it definitely looks scary.
At one point, I got it down to under 2 hours. Every day, I was in awe and relieved. Oh, and she doesn't look like me.
Oh, what up?
Tess and Justin Long run out and start to head up a water tower. You can see Justin Long immediately leave Tess behind after his questioning on if he's a good person or not. In one final dickbag move, Justin Long sacrifices Tess by throwing her off the water tower so that the inbred lady can jump after her. Justin Long looks down to see that the inbred lady attempted to break Tess's fall. He runs down to find that thank God Tess is alive, and in the middle of him trying to excuse his literal voluntold sacrifice of her, the inbred lady also is alive and shoots right up, and in the most satisfying move yet, she splits open its head. I was so happy to see that finally happen. Like, oh my god, was it worth all the hardships to get that moment? Maybe. At first watch? Not really. The inbred lady goes up to Tess and tries to pick her up, but Tess seems too wounded. The lady gets down closer as Tess pulls out Frank's gun and shoots her. Immediate cut to black and the credits begin. We actually get a lot of flashes of Tess walking off screen as the sun rises to show that she makes it. I gotta say, on both watches, I get pretty sad at the end a little bit. Even after the gun is pressed against the inbred lady's face, she still calls Tess her baby, kisses her forehead, and continues to try and pick her up before Tess finishes the job. She didn't ask for any of this. She didn't ask to be born as the product of this horrible man's indescribable acts that go against everything good in this world. Justin Long was, albeit, a less extreme but more modern example of Frank's atrocities. Justin Long sees himself in Frank, and it causes him to break. It was silly of me to think that there was no foundation to this movie, as there are multiple underlying themes that make up this story, that make up the foundation. As said many times, horror is subjective, and the themes we take away from it can be subjective as well. It seems, though, the main theme is the danger behind people's true intentions. We see this in the beginning with the conversation between Tess and Keith. She admits that if the roles were reversed, she would have never let him in.
What, you wouldn't have let me in?
Hell no, I wouldn't have let you in. Do you think I'm crazy? But
She's very slow and hesitant when going down to get Keith from the tunnel, and he died. She's very quick to go down and get Justin Long, and then she gets shot for it. Granted, she was under the impression the inbred lady was dead, or at the very least pinned against the car, but still, I can see the duality of these moments. She runs away from the homeless guy chasing her, when in reality, he knew what was up and was trying to help her. Except in those moments, we saw it through her eyes, so trust me, when he was chasing her, I started to tense up pretty strongly. It's one of the freakiest moments I've seen in a while. Overall, at this very moment, I really ended up enjoying Barbarian a lot more the second time than on my first, and I'm pretty sure it is just because the structure threw me off and it caused a lot of confusion towards the movie as it went on. However, while I was confused, the tense moments were still incredibly tense, and I gotta admit, the movie scared me in a lot of scenes. I was also in shock at how much they show in terms of the inbred lady. Like, she's naked 100% of the time, and there's this scene where she's forcing Justin Long to feed off her, and that's also to me a very obvious parallel between what he was being accused of and basically admitted to doing. I would say that if you're a horror fan in general, then Barbarian is definitely worth a watch, because while it didn't meet my initial expectations, it certainly shined through and showed me what this movie was really meant to do and the messages it was trying to convey. Barbarian was a roller coaster of twists and turns with a lot of effective tense moments and scares that, if I am being completely honest, is on my list of horror movies I now like to show people, so bravo Barbarian, you've made the list.